Hey everybody, it's Abby. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you're new. Today we're going to talk about some habits that you need to get into when you get your paycheck. So I know a lot of you, if you're subscribed to my channel, you're trying to pay off debt or you're on a no-buy, trying to be more conscious about your spending and all that fun stuff. So I have a list of a few things that I do every payday, just in general. So number one is to do not buy anything before you start your budget. So if you're like me, you're going to be going out on Thursday and getting a nice lunch or whatever after you've been good all week and packed from home, but that's actually not good because then you're going to kick yourself for overspending your eating out budget and then having to take it out of the next paycheck. And then why I said don't pay any bills before you make your budget is because you need to make sure you budget for everything first. This is especially if you're trying to aggressively pay off your debt. You don't want to be making like this ginormous payment on your credit card and then not have enough money for the rest of the week for your other bills or for food or gas or something. Then that's a vicious cycle you'll have to end up charging, which is counterintuitive to making the huge payment. Habit number 2 is to pay attention to your due dates. So my advice is to plan on paying your bills 1.5 to 2 weeks early before the due date, or at least as soon as possible. This helps in a few different ways. If you're short on cash, then you'll still have a week or two before the bills due, so be able to make up for the difference. If you're on a bi-weekly pay schedule, then your paychecks are going to be on irregular dates. They're not always going to be on the same exact date every 2 weeks or every month or whatever, but your bills are going to be on the same date every month. So you want to make sure that in case of a conflict of schedule that you're going to be able to have money in your account to pay for that. So like for example, if you've got a bill due the 12th of the month, then and you like that pay period that week is a little bit later than the 12th, like the 15th or something, then you want to make sure that you have enough money to cover that before it's due, which is why you want to plan on paying it ahead of time in case something like that happens. But then at any rate, paying your bills early is never a bad thing for you or for the person you're paying. The thing related to this is keep a list on your phone or a piece of paper or wherever of exactly every single bill that you have and what date they're due on. I personally don't like to have things on auto pay. I know my insurance has to be on auto pay and like Netflix and stuff, but you want to make sure that you know what things are due which date, because like I said before, your paychecks could be on different dates or it could conflict with your bill due dates. So just in case like something happens and I don't have enough money to pay one thing, and if I can wait a little bit on something to pay it, then I want to pay the things that are due first out of my paycheck, which ideally that shouldn't happen if you have enough of a buffer in your account, but if you're trying to pay off debt, you might not have that much extra money, so you have to be careful. And then tip number 3, this is going to be a long one, a long explanation, but you want to make sure that you go through every single transaction in your checking and your credit card accounts, even if you don't owe anything on your credit card. So ideally you would do this more often than every 2 weeks, but I wouldn't go any longer than 2 weeks. So there's a few reasons for this. One is that you want to make sure you know where your money is being spent. In my budgeting app, there are some budgeting apps that will automatically categorize all of your purchases into the right category and take the balance out of your budget and adjust it and all that for you. But I have mine set to where I have to manually enter every single transaction, and that forces me to have to look at everything, and I'll see like patterns, or if I can see if I've been overcharged for something, or if I've been like charged twice for something at a store on accident, or even that can help you detect fraud as well, which is a big one. I'll talk about that in a second. So you want to see if you're overspending on something. You'll catch yourself buying too much stuff. So like if I notice that I'm going to Chipotle 3 times a week, then I need to settle down with the burritos. Sometimes a restaurant or a store or something can accidentally charge you twice or overcharge you, so you want to make sure you get that corrected as soon as possible. Usually most places are willing to work with you. If they've accidentally overcharged you, you just bring in your receipt or whatever and they'll fix it. If not, you can contact your credit card or your bank and let them know that you've been overcharged. If the merchant is not willing to work with you, they'll try to solve it for you. And then another big reason for this is for fraud. So if somebody has hacked into your account, or if they've like a website that you've shopped at has been compromised, which has happened to me quite a few times. And the vast majority of the times my bank has actually caught it before I did. They'll see that somebody's making a weird purchase that's not like anything that I would normally do, and they would contact me. But if not, in case they don't, then you can stop them right away. And my bank also, another thing to look into is especially if your bank has a really good online banking system, most of them have alerts that you can set up in your account, and it'll alert you if somebody makes a purchase online or over the phone, which is the most common way that that cards are fraudulently used, or it'll alert you if there's a purchase over a certain dollar amount. And with fraud charges, you're not liable for those. Even if it's on your debit account, they'll still dispute that and give you your money back. But if it is your debit account, then it's tricky because it's like your money that's gone. It's a little bit different if your credit card is compromised because it wasn't your money in the first place. But just if you're on a budget, trying to save money, all that stuff, having your card compromised is a big setback, even though it might take them a little while to get you the money back. And lastly, on this number 3, you want to check your credit card transactions even if you don't owe anything on your credit card. It's pretty common to accidentally charge something to your credit card, especially if you had it saved before, like on Amazon or any other online store. You can accidentally use that instead of your debit card. And it is pretty common to have a recurring charge that you forget about on your credit card. And you don't want your $12 Netflix subscription to end up costing you $30 or $40 because you were late paying it because you forgot that you didn't know that it was charged on an account, and then you end up late on your credit card bill. And also, this is because of the fraud thing I mentioned before. Even if you don't use your card, it can still get compromised. So you want to make sure that there are no transactions on there that aren't yours. And you don't have to wait for your paper statement for credit cards. I'm sure you might know this already, but if you go onto your online banking thing or whatever bank that you have your credit card through, then you can see transactions I think they post, usually it's a few days after they're made, but most of the time you can see the pending amount. So say if your credit limit's like $2,000 and then your pending balance, your pending available credit is like $1,950 or something, then you know that there's a transaction that's pending in there, and if you didn't charge anything on there, then you need to figure out what it is. And another thing that I want to mention too, especially if you're kind of newish to credit, banks do not send $0 statements for your credit card. And they actually are not legally required to send you a statement in the mail, even if you do owe. That's just a courtesy that they do to make sure that they get their money and that you're paying on time. So if you call in because you get a late charge, you can't use the excuse, I didn't get a bill, because they don't have to send you one. And especially now with online banking, it's at your fingertips on your phone. You can see what you owe and when. You really don't have any excuse to not pay it. Like I said before, you gotta make sure you're looking at it all the time to see if there's any charges, and then take care of those. And then number 4, this kills me because there are some people that I work with that are like this, but number 4 is don't be buying stuff that you don't need just because it's payday. If you had to wait until payday to be able to afford the thing, then you really couldn't afford the thing in the first place. And you'll just be in the same boat, broke 2 weeks from now, if you buy the thing that you didn't need now because you didn't have enough last paycheck. So why would you think that you have enough money next paycheck? You get what I'm saying? So just because you have enough money to buy something doesn't mean that you can afford it. And number 5, this is seemingly random, kind of doesn't fit in here, but when you're making your budget, you want to make sure that you're putting at least a little bit into specific designated lines in your budget for car and medical expenses. So car expenses can be things like oil changes or new wiper blades, or it could go into like your car registration, your taxes, and all that stuff. And also, in case you get into an accident, you want to make sure you have enough money to pay your deductible. Or if you get a flat tire or something like that you have to pay for. And for your medical expenses, that's kind of self-explanatory, but it can also include things that you need on a regular basis, like glasses or contacts. And I think that vehicle and medical expenses are things that are the most common that can put people underwater unexpectedly. I don't know why did I do this? I wasn't counting, I was just... So that was it. That was my tips for payday. Let me know if you have any suggestions on what you do first thing when you get your paycheck. And give this video a thumbs up if that it was helpful, if you like these tips. And let me know also in the comments if you have any other questions or suggestions for videos about money, finances, that kind of stuff. And thanks so much for subscribing, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.